Hello there everyone, I'm uxwbill. About a week or two ago, my truck, Naughty Truck, had a padiddle. And when I went to tell the keykeeper about it, that was exactly the word I used, because as any good brother would, I like to annoy my brother quite thoroughly by using $5 words when 50-cent ones would suffice. I really did not expect him to know what a padiddle was. And in case you don't, it's a burned out headlight on a car, or it's a game that you play when you're going down the highway and you spot a car with a burned out headlight. You say, there's a padiddle. Either one of the two it is. This truck certainly had one. I remember reading years ago, and it was in some literature promoting a highfalutin kind of headlight bulb or of some kind or another, that over time, halogen headlight bulbs actually dim as they age. And I really didn't know if that was true or not. I figured, these people have a vested interest in selling these. They'd say that even if it wasn't really true or not. But as it turns out, they actually do. And you might be able to spot the difference right here and now in these waning moments of daylight that I have. Go ahead and turn the headlights on. Can you tell which bulb's been replaced? Oh, I'll bet you can. And if by some chance you can't, it's the passenger side bulb that actually went out. The keykeeper was kind enough to give me one out of his Pontiac Bonneville. Amazingly, it uses the same bulbs as Naughty Truck does. So he handed me another one to get me up and running. But I decided that I would go ahead and find out at least what new bulbs cost. The cheap ones are about $8 a copy, maybe a little less, especially since I've done computer work for the guy who runs the Napa store around here. He'll frequently give me all manner of discounts on stuff. But I decided to go up a little bit higher on the food chain with these. These are actually a $30 pair of bulbs, which might be money spent on a nebulous or even, frankly, ridiculous goal. They consume the same amount of electrical power as the plain bulbs do, but they say that they're whiter, brighter, and that you can see further. And in this day and age, when they're making all these so-called safer cars with their touch screens and headlights that blind absolutely every other driver off the road, it's like an arms race to see who can produce the most obnoxiously bright headlights. And it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. So much so, in fact, that where I used to love driving at night, I don't anymore. Ordinarily, I'd never buy anything like this. But I figure over here in the corner where I'm stuck with the halogen headlights, yeah, I could probably get LEDs, but I'm not going to put that kind of money into this whole thing. I figure turnabout's fair play, and I might as well see what I can do with these. And I figured I'd take you along for the ride and just see if they really do manage to be whiter and brighter than the standard halogen headlamps. Now earlier you saw them shining at the garage door. Let's go ahead and turn them on again. Walk around the front here, walk around to the front of Naughty Truck, and just see if you can tell the difference in brightness there. To me, at least, it looks a lot less pronounced than it does on the garage door. They look about equal in brightness to me, and the camcorder's view screen would seem to suggest the same thing. These lenses are a little hazed over, but not too bad. In fact, I think most of that might actually be moisture that's trapped in behind there. Same thing over here. These are going to need a polish job. This one's a little worse, but they're certainly not as foggy as some that I've seen. So I think those expensive highfalutin light bulbs will still produce an improvement. And that's exactly what we're going to find out. But I've got to wait for the sun to get a little further down in the sky, and then thanks to the magic of video editing, you won't have to wait, and we'll be right back to see. And, oh, by the way, here's the original headlight that was in Naughty Truck. I don't know if this is the factory-supplied bulb. It's from Philips. 12 volt, 55 watts, same as the highfalutin bulb that I mentioned previously. But the failure mechanism on this one's pretty obvious. It isn't always, but right there you can probably see, and the candy ham is actually doing its job, that the filament simply degraded and ultimately burned in two, and it looks like it actually left a fair bit of itself deposited on the glass. The halogen gas mix in here, if my understanding is correct, is actually supposed to stave off the degradation of the filament and prolong its life. I don't know if the gas charge ultimately leaks out of the sealed glass vial in these or not, but whatever the case, things do eventually degrade, they break down, and they die. Over the lifetime of the bulb, it gets gradually dimmer, and then one day it's not going to light up for you any longer. I think I'll go ahead and leave the bulbs here in the truck. This seems like a good place to leave them, right where I can find them easily. Or perhaps more likely, absent-mindedly sit on them when I realize that I need to go somewhere and forget about these being here. So it's gotten a bit darker out here than I would have liked it to, but I think the Handycam is still doing all right. Here's the other headlight bulb, and I presume that the Phillips ones are in fact original issue because there's a matched set of them in the truck, and it would be very unusual for them to both fail at the same time. But now what we're going to do, I've gone ahead and installed the new bulb, one of them, over here on the driver's side. The other one is still running the bulb that the keykeeper gave me from the Bonneville. So we'll go ahead and shut the hood and just turn the headlights on. And I don't doubt but what there will be an improvement in the brightness with the new bulb. This isn't quite the scientific test I'd like it to be because I don't actually have any plain old brand new halogen bulbs for this thing. I guess I could have invested the $8 in one of the plain bulbs just to do a cross comparison. Well, it's a little late to do that now, but here we go. There's certainly a difference in brightness there. It looks more apparent on the camcorder than it does in real life, but there definitely is one. And this is just with the battery pushing it. Here's this light over here. And even though the camcorder's automatic gain control and such are still turned on, that one definitely does appear brighter. So let's see what happens if we turn the engine on. Yeah, there's definitely still a bit of a difference. So I guess I'll go ahead and change the other one out, and we'll see what they look like together. Now, when you go to change your own headlight bulbs, it should go without saying that it's vitally important to let the bulb cool first. I shouldn't have to say something like that, but invariably there's going to be a real wizard, trademark, ask for them by name, at any store where fine real wizard products are sold, who will come along and say, "We didn't tell me that the bulb was hot. So after I spilled my McDonald's coffee in my lap, I burned myself on my headlight lamp, and I'm going to sue the pants off of you." And believe me, that would not be doing a favor to anybody because I don't look very photogenic even when I'm fully clothed. So, let this be a warning to you. Let the old bulb cool down. That's the bulb from the Bonneville. Still looks to be in very good shape. The glass isn't discolored at all. It's also very important when you go to install your new headlamp bulbs that you not touch the bulb with your bare skin, or if you do, wipe it off quickly and thoroughly with something like an alcohol moistened towelette. Using fairly high percentage isopropyl alcohol, 90% or better would be ideal. If you can actually get it, 70% will probably do okay in a pinch if you let things dry out. What will happen if you touch the actual bulb envelope, which is made of quartz glass? You'll leave skin oils behind in the shape of your fingerprints. When the bulb warms up, the oil will cause a hot spot that in turn softens the glass and greatly increases the likelihood that the bulb will explode, fail violently in some other manner, and just generally have its life shortened. So I'm going to go ahead and put the other bulb in, and because I don't have about 18 or 20 hands, I'm going to turn the camcorder off for just a moment, but we'll be right back. Now this looks like a great deal of trouble to me. And here's everything put back together. Now, some of you probably wonder about all the uxwbill videos that never leave the editing room. Those that get thrown on the cutting room floor and are forever forgotten. And while there aren't very many, there are certainly a few. If that's not you, go ahead and skip like the next 2.5 minutes, maybe 20 minutes worth of video in case I really get going on a good string of digressions here. Some years ago, when I still had my S10 pickup, I made a video, or started to make a video, about changing the headlamp bulbs in it because one of them did die. Actually, both of them died during my ownership of that truck. And I started to take the assembly apart, and I discovered that it had this complicated It pulled out fairly easily, but it had this complicated system of little latches that clicked into the framework underneath the lens and the headlamp basket assembly on the truck. It required about 800 hands and certainly more patience than I had. That video ended up being rather vituperative in nature and culminated in my saying I should have bought a Toyota. And given that I have a very low opinion of Toyota, which you can certainly ask me about, but please don't vilify me for it down in the comments, you know things had to be going badly if I contemplated, even for a moment, buying one of those things. But to make a long story short, the whole Toyota thing, I think they're personally responsible for killing the great American road sofa car. Maybe they didn't do it single-handedly, but they certainly had a hand in it. Digression ends. Let's not shut our puck light under the hood. Go ahead and close that up. We'll leave it there instead so it can blow off at speed on the highway and frighten the guy in the Honda Civic or the motorcycle behind me. There we go, there are our new headlights. I didn't make it any worse, they both still work at least. So let's go ahead and crank things up and just see how they look with the alternator pushing them. I'd say they're pretty bright. I don't know that they're any brighter than any other halogen headlamp I've used in the past. So I think, yeah, they probably did find a way to relieve my wallet of $30 instead of $16 or so, but oh well, not that great of a difference. I've spent money on similarly foolish pursuits in the past, and invariably I will again. But hey, now I've got some nice bright new headlights on the truck, and ultimately, that's what matters. And that is one thing I will say for this truck, it has outstanding headlamps. Here are the high beams for comparison. And while I'm on the subject of high beams, there should also be a great woe befall those particularly brilliantly gifted people who think they're electrical engineers and install a kit in their vehicle that allows both the high and low beam headlights to stay on at the same time. Because that is a rare gift of asshattery, and yes, I really did just say that. That is all too often bestowed upon the world by these extra special people. I've really gotten off on a few rants on this video, haven't I? And you all go around thinking that I'm this nice, upbeat, positive thinking kind of guy, which I am. At least I'd like to think I am, but every now and again the weight of the world does in fact drag me down. But rather than using it to drag you down as well, I'll thank you for watching the video if you made it this far. I really do appreciate it. Those of you who take the time to watch what I'm doing, it's a great honor to me. I hope you've enjoyed watching this video as well, and I'd certainly be interested in hearing what you have to say about it down in the comments area, especially if you're somebody who's subscribed. And there seem to be an awful lot of you out there that hasn't commented, even if you just want to say hello. So thank you again, and as always, certainly do feel free to leave a comment if you happen to have one.